Have you heard of millennial gray?
Millennial gray?
Gray flooring, gray walls, gray decor.
Why is all your furniture gray?
She's a millennial. Millennial gray.
This house is very millennial gray coded.
The defining interior decor trend of the 2010s has become synonymous with controversial furniture flips, millennial cringe, and landlord specials. And I want to know why. So I'm diving into the history of interior decor trends and interviewing experts, all to figure out the rise and fall of millennial gray. Thank you to Displate for sponsoring a portion of this video, and to our patrons for supporting the channel. Over the past few years, I have come across a mounting hatred for millennial gray. So many articles about TikToks about people complaining about their gray on gray homes. Some even feel victimized by it, like it's a crime. And if that's the case, I've got a confession. Despite technically being a member of Gen Z, I lived the millennial gray life for years. Blank walls, gray couch, gray carpet, gray floor. It was sterile, without a trace of personality or comfort. But here's the real mystery. I don't remember why I did it. And that's weird, right? Like, you'd think I'd remember why I submitted to the most depressing interior decor trend for half a decade. Some influence that inspired not just me, but a whole generation. What did we see in it? And where did it go? To get to the bottom of this, I surveyed almost 4,000 people to learn their experience of this trend. Maybe someone knew the answer that I just forgot. But I'm also wondering if all of these articles just kind of bias the internet against the idea of millennial gray. Let me explain. This interior design style was dominant in the 2010s. But the term we used to describe it, to complain about it, only came around in 2023, alongside all of these articles complaining about it. So all of this could just be a made-up problem for journalists who need clicks, and most people don't actually have an issue with it. I don't see how, but it's possible. If they see this style in real life and they aren't told it's millennial gray, maybe they wouldn't mind. That would mean there's no mystery here, I'm just chronically online. So to test against this possibility, I made a video game. Hello, decorators.
You know what? You kind of look like the host from Trading Spaces. Did you ever watch that show on HGTV?
You watched HGTV growing up?
And the Food Network.
This is very consistent with Melissa.
Taha and Melissa had no idea what I was working on, so they wouldn't be on the lookout for millennial gray. I'm about to send you guys a link.
That is very impressive. You made this?
Oh my gosh, there's sounds.
Oh my god, this music is so loud.
Sorry. This is amazing. It's a pretty simple drag and drop interior design simulator. I illustrated furniture and decor from different interior design eras. And I could hopefully learn what Taha and Melissa think based off what they use or ignore. And yes, you can play it too. I'll include it in our next newsletter. You now have 5 minutes to decorate your room.
Oh! I love this. This is my favorite color, guys. I'm not saying what it is.
It's green.
It's green.
It's my favorite color.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun.
Where's the door? How am I supposed to orient the feng shui if I don't know where the door is?
I would like to see your rooms. Whoa!
Wow.
Wait, I want to see Taha's. Where's his?
I put it in the group chat.
Wait, your flooring is insane. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm obsessed.
So Taha and Melissa had 5 different sets of furniture to choose from. Mid-century modern, millennial gray, space age, Rococo revival, and what I'm calling Zoomer maximalism. It has the form factors of the space age, but with a kind of different color palette. Now, interestingly, Taha and Melissa used elements from every set except millennial gray. I am excluding the mirror because they both noted how much it looks like a window.
I tried to use that mirror, but it looks too much like a window or a door.
It does.
And they're right, it really looks like a window. Now, their response is really in line with the survey results. I asked people to rank a slightly different set of interior decor trends, and millennial gray was placed aggressively last. Like, even below this, a behind-the-scenes photo of Tony Soprano's New Jersey living room. Nobody brought it up. So, even without prompting, Taha and Melissa showed that they don't really like millennial gray. But there's only one way to be sure. Can I send you guys my room?
The hell is this?
What?
Why the heck are you in prison?
What?
This looks like, in the British version of The Apprentice, the bit where the contestants sit before they get called into the boardroom. That is exactly what this space is.
Believe it or not, Taha and Melissa were actually really polite compared to these survey results, where some people were abusing the other option to just write in some very specific insults. Let me look at some. The mark of true cowards, masculine fear of colors, a coward's understanding of cohesion, a very uncanny valley version of cozy. Are we writing tongue twisters now? If you move anything, you will be yelled at by a trad wife. You know that I had a feeling people didn't love millennial gray, but I didn't expect so many people to genuinely hate it.
I think you have this coffee table, Sabrina.
I have that couch too.
No! This is just your house?
Maybe it was, but don't worry, I've changed. I have plants, I have colors, and even though I rent, I have art on my walls, which is especially easy thanks to the sponsor of this portion of the video. Displate. Displate is a metal poster company with a magnet mounting system. I am obsessed with it because it means I don't need to try and figure out the exact right height, pull out a level, make another hole in my wall. It's way simpler than that. To protect my wall, I'm gonna stick on this sheet. It feels kind of like painter's tape. Look how little effort I'm gonna put into this. Yeah, that seems about right. Once that is stuck on, I have a magnet with an adhesive on the back. It says stick magnet here, I'm gonna stick the magnet there. And then I press for at least 5 seconds. And then, since this poster is made out of metal, mounted! Not a level was used. It's awesome! This system makes it really easy to adjust the height and angle, and even swap designs, which Displate has over 2 million of in their catalog. There's some great stuff by individual artists. This one and this one are by Julia Leister. They also carry licensed designs from iconic brands like Marvel, Netflix, and these two from NASA. I'm obsessed with them. They're so cool. Look at that print quality. It's kind of crazy. Global shipping is super fast since all posters are printed in the EU, including their texture posters with embossed finishes. It just feels so nice. Woo! If you want to grab a Displate, you can click the link in the description or use code ANSWER at checkout. God, it's so easy! Look how nice that is! Thank you to Displate for sponsoring this portion of the video and making stuff like this possible. Now back to Gray. This wasn't supposed to be about me. Have you guys heard of Millennial Gray?
Unfortunately.
Millennial Gray. Oh. This is like when you see I transformed my vintage house into the worst thing ever, and then they just do this. To me, this is really American coded.
Oh.
I feel like in the UK, people just have things from their grandparents.
Don't want to go on record and say this, actually. I will. I made my parents paint the entire house. My parents' house used to be beige, and I was like, this is not the vibe anymore. What if we get rid of all of that, Tone it down a little bit. And we toned it down a lot. Now every single room in my parents' home is gray.
No!
So you're saying that this is actually your parents' house?
Depression the place.
There was maximalism, and then there was minimalism. And then it got too far. I'm so sorry.
Melissa is not alone in her regret. According to the survey, over 50% of people who decorated with Millennial Gray now want to change it. And most people who hadn't even heard the term before still disliked it, ranking it low in their preferences and using negative descriptors. So there is a mystery here. Nowadays, most people dislike this style, but nobody, not even the people who lived in it, could explain why it was so popular in the first place. Why I, a person who has never watched HGTV, fell for this trend. So if I want to solve this mystery, I think I need to go back in time and find the origins of Millennial Gray. Unfortunately, I've discovered that it is very difficult to research a style whose name didn't even exist until a decade after it started. I know we started talking about it here, but the trend was somewhere in here. But where did it start? It's really funny seeing this trend line, knowing that this video is gonna be irrelevant by the time I post it. That's cool. So I reached out to a color expert for some help.
Hi, I'm Andrea Magno. I am the Director of Color Marketing and Design for Benjamin Moore.
In case you didn't know, Benjamin Moore is one of the biggest house paint manufacturers in North America. Yeah, they've been around since basically the beginning of factory-made paints. And part of Andrea's work is looking out into the world to see what colors people want inside their homes.
There's the millennial pink thing. There's a millennial gray thing. I've been hearing recently about millennial green, too.
While Andrea was very familiar with all the trendy names that appear in articles, she analyzed trends with a way more holistic approach.
Honestly, we look anywhere and everywhere. Museum exhibits, automotive, or retail, even what people are wearing on the red carpet.
All of this gave her a pretty interesting perspective on Millennial Gray.
Call it 2010, people wouldn't even consider using a gray in their home. I was in design school and, everyone's project would have sort of a Tuscan influence. But then after, the housing crash and all of that, people were sick of what they were seeing. Let's move into these grays. It felt fresh, it felt modern. It was actually kind of unexpected.
It's hard to imagine a time when Millennial Gray was new, when a gray house was unexpected. But it had to start somewhere, and Andrea, she traced it back to 2008, when millennials were forming a specific motive.
Could be generational, right? So it's like, well, my parents had this warm yellow kitchen. Now I have my own place. I want it to be a polar opposite of that. Maybe they're looking for more of like clean slate, blank canvas, cooler colors, and little by little these trends take hold and it becomes this pervasive thing where by the time you get to 2019, everybody's like, oh, it's gray, head to toe.
Andrea's story makes a lot of sense. Many middle-class millennials raised on a maximalist media diet of MTV, they watched their parents invest in this beige, quasi-European kitsch. It's just so weird. Look at that. There was a reason it was so common. The very conditions that led to the subprime mortgage crisis meant that between 2000 and 2007, spending on upper-end discretionary projects like kitchen renovations was up 110%. And we all know how that went.
Nobody ever thought you could lose money in real estate until lately.
But like every bubble, the bubble ended.
The Dow tumbled more than 500 points. The result was more than $60 billion in losses.
In the wake of the crash, people looked for different ways to cut costs, including switching their light bulbs. LEDs were finally a viable alternative. They were way more energy efficient. But they have this noticeably cooler light, one where beige looks kind of washed out. But that's the physical world. Millennials were turning to the internet, which was rapidly adopting more streamlined graphics to accommodate the iPhone and rising web security and design standards, which I learned while making this video. I'm citing myself! Now, there may have been some other significant influences, but I think it's fair to say that around 2008, millennials saw warm colors and clutter as mistakes of the past, and they recognized cool colors and minimalism as the design language of the future. But that doesn't actually solve our mystery, because it doesn't explain gray. Like, yes, the color satisfies what millennials wanted, but they had other options. There are other cool colors. Let me show you. Google. There are other cool colors, and there are other forms of minimalism like Bauhaus, which I love. Or there's contemporary interior decor. Or Japandi. That's minimalist. That's cool. These are all options that millennials seem to ignore for some reason. Why did they choose gray? With that specific question in mind, I got researching. I started at the library to understand our historical relationship with gray. It required a custom archive request, so I just ordered a few decades of magazines. So I just forgot how much space physical media takes up. Kind of embarrassing. But I did learn that we have been using gray in interior decor for decades. It was considered this functional and pleasant color, but mainly because of how it complements other colors. So that doesn't explain why millennials chose to stack gray on top of gray. So I turned to industry magazines, reading about improvements and strategy. I even analyzed the color distribution of old IKEA catalogs over time with an image recognition model. This should have been simple, but I am stupid. While I struggled, we collected interviews with some of our survey participants to flesh out the human side of this story.
My name is Cass. I live in a millennial gray house, and I'm a millennial.
I'm Carlos. I live in Florida. I'm 19 years old.
I'm Gabbie. I would probably call myself a zillennial.
Hi, I'm Dexter. I go by Daples online. I am here to complain about when there's lack of color inside of a home.
My name is Brice. 37, I'm a software engineer, and I live in Chicago.
Despite different ages and opinions, their answers corroborated my findings on why so many millennials fell in love with gray.
When millennial gray started being a thing, I thought it was so cool.
It felt like, thank God, we're out of beige, we're not doing white walls. It's something new and fresh, and it makes everything look clean and modern.
It's kind of the underwear for the house or for your rooms that then you can sort of put your personality and stuff sort of on top of.
I used to like it. I totally get the appeal. It's a neutral, so it goes with like anything, but there's so many other neutrals to pick from.
Brown or green or like a desaturated blue. You can have more neutral tones for safer color options without it being specifically gray.
Unprompted, they saw the core of the mystery I was trying to solve. Why is millennial gray gray? Andrea answered this through the lens of what millennials wanted, but the more interesting answer may lie in what they could actually get.
I mean, definitely cost affects how I decorate. It's kind of a miracle to own a house as a millennial, and it's like being able to just afford a house is almost like, all right, whew, we did it. Now that's all the money we had.
After the Great Recession, housing prices started to recover around 2012. This created an opportunity for real estate investors to buy low and sell high. However, home buyers were way more risk averse. They were only interested in modernized homes that wouldn't need a pricey renovation anytime soon. This demand had a very specific consequence.
Buying homes, flipping homes.
All new Flip or Flop.
Flipping the most beautiful homes
to turn these old rundown properties into stunning dream homes.
Network television treated the practice of buying homes, renovating, and selling them like it was the next gold rush.
There's a new gold rush.
These programs needed to show a dramatic change for their buyers, but also for the camera. So they needed designs that contrasted strongly with what came before. In some ways, it's a similar goal to millennials who are eager to leave their past behind. But house flippers weren't trying to live in these homes. They were trying to turn a profit. So that meant affordable, durable, and inoffensive. In other words, gray.
People were like, oh, do a millennial gray because then it helps your resale value. I'm not in this house so I can resell it. I'm in this house to enjoy living in my home. And I'm gonna fill it full of quirky things that make me happy.
A lot of people dismiss gray as just a resale color. But the same properties that make it appealing to buyers also make it weirdly functional in everyday life.
And the big thing is it doesn't show dirt. I have dogs and they shed everywhere. That sort of clean and simple and sort of flat palette, that in itself is a utility.
Its mid-tone value hides scuffs and stains, and its low saturation complements a wider variety of hues.
Having a gray wall was a great way for me to really have those high contrasting decor pieces without it looking like too cluttered.
Now, gray managed to spread from the walls to the floor due to improvements in vinyl plank technology. It became easier to install, easier to maintain, all for a fraction of the price of hardwood. It reminds me of how synthetic fibers were pitched in the mid-century. It was cheaper and easier to maintain than organic fabric. The change in color just helped the new product differentiate itself from the old. And much like how vibrant upholstery became a signature look for the 1950s, gray building features dominated the 2010s.
I saw someone comment that they know millennial gray as landlord gray, and as someone who has moved from apartment to apartment every year for the last 10-15 years, I totally understand where they're coming from. Things have just gotten more and more gray.
Furniture and decor saw a similar evolution for a similar reason. After the crash, people were spending less money on their homes, and home furnishing companies needed to react. Restoration hardware increased revenue by increasing prices and neutralizing color palettes to target a wealthier clientele, whose homes usually look more like high-end hotels. Their ensuing success inspired countless dupes. On the other hand, IKEA cut costs by sharply reducing their number of catalog goods. An analysis of their catalogs published from 1991 to 2021 shows a rise in gray at the cost of colors. So millennials wanted minimalism, and when they were old enough to enter the housing market, they got a sea of gray houses with gray furniture.
We had our house remodeled before we moved in from kind of Cheesecake Factory style to this by a guy that just wanted to flip it and sell it really quickly. And so I definitely can feel if that person was still the owner of this house, this would be definitely a landlord remodel.
Now, IKEA wasn't totally gray, even at their monochrome peak in 2014. And millennials could have just painted their walls. Some did.
Before we moved in, I was like, we're painting every single room. I gotta have colors everywhere. I have to have colors.
But the reason I'm making this video is because most millennials didn't fight the tide.
My mom and my stepsister have homes in this style, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, this is super boring. It looks like a supermarket in here.
So the question really is, why did millennials give in to gray?
The reason I don't have the type of space that I designed is because this is easy. If you paint your walls millennial gray, then all the other gray things in the world can also fit with this. So it's like, oh, the gray couch that you want is also gray.
During our call weeks ago, Taha suggested that millennial gray might just be easy. Our survey participants seemed to agree.
It's just so simple and it's hard to mess up. I'm 19, so when I had that bed, I was like 15, 16, and I don't know how to style at that age. So I figured gray, good to go. Gray goes good with any other shade of gray too.
The stuff is good, it's cheap, it's clean, and the aesthetic looks fine.
I mean, starter furniture was all from IKEA, so it was all black. And what's easy to match with black, like white, gray,
So I think our mystery is solved. Millennial gray was the result of an overwhelmed generation meeting an underwhelming housing and furnishing market. There weren't many options, but that just made it easier for millennials to keep calm and carry on. By simply submitting to the most widely available neutral, they could shut off their brains, shop sales, and get reasonably good results. Think about this room for a second. Those tufted dimples come from the ornamentation of the Victorian era, but the base ironically pulls from the Shaker style, which religiously rejected ornamentation. Then there's the colonial revival fireplace, in front of a Moroccan-inspired rug, in between a farmhouse console and a mid-century modern-style sofa. The only thing these pieces have in common is their color, and it looks fine, because that's what millennial gray is. Fine. Seeing it spelled out like that has finally reminded me why I committed the crime of millennial gray. It was 2016, the year of Pokemon Go to the polls. I was just moving out for the first time in my life. I was starting university, and there was so much going on out in the world and in my personal life that not needing to choose the color of my walls or my couch was a relief. And I know that someone is gonna say that sounds sad, because nowadays, if someone told me that, I would say it sounds sad. It reeks of this productivity-pilled weirdness that only cares about efficiency, but at the time, that wasn't the case. The world was different. I was different. It wasn't sad, like it wasn't that deep. I just didn't care. But now I do. Now a lot of us do. So we have solved one mystery, but another one's appeared. What killed millennial gray?
Since COVID started, people started to work from home and they started to invest in the home design. They started learning craft, they started learning to cook. They used a lot the outdoor space because remember, we couldn't go outside.
This is Dori from Shine Urban Staging. She styles homes for sale, which means she needs to keep track of how trends change.
I look around the neighborhood, I see what other places sold and how did they look. What people expect me to show exactly in this building. 10 years ago, I chose stainless steel legs and glass tables. Now, things change. I wanted to show, even in a small apartment, that you can have a home office and a nice dining room. Since COVID, people are working at home. You always need to show an office if you can.
Work from home policies and quarantines implemented during the pandemic meant that a lot of people were making money but had fewer ways to use it. This led to a surge in spending on interior decor. Look at that. That is basically a vertical line. You could see Wayfair stock price skyrocket as people invested in the spaces they literally couldn't leave. It was really interesting to see how interior design has changed since millennial gray. There's been this boom in retro styles like the space age and mid-century modern, which are softer and warmer. But according to Dori, they're still driven by the same motivations.
The more noise we have from the exterior world, the more we are in our phones, Instagram, Facebook, working every day on the computer, talking to people all day. We need to be in a calm environment when we are coming back home.
All that hasn't changed much, but our decor has. And I think it's because of the rise in e-commerce. Millennials settled for gray because it is simple and easy. Nowadays, we obviously still want that, but it doesn't have to come at the cost of our individual sense of style. This thing we could develop faster thanks to the internet.
Go to Pinterest.
Particularly Pinterest.
I have already been chronically Pinteresting interior design stuff.
Are we sponsored by Pinterest?
Please. Pinterest. I'm here.
I actually got back on a call with Taha and Melissa to see how they would update this game to fit their style.
Big art. Huge.
I hate you.
Can you do this lamp?
Ooh, I like that.
Things got incredibly specific.
Ooh, wait, that looked...
It looked good 1 pixel before, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
2, 3?
No, go up 1.
1.
Yeah.
So, the passage of time killed millennial gray. It was this product of a moment that no longer exists. Technology that once held the promise of the future now looms like a threat. Options that were once limited now boom with variety. And our homes that were once an oasis from the outside world are now our portal into it. For a time there, it was our office, our classroom, our everything. So we gave millennial gray a name, just to bury it. A time capsule of a moment a lot of us want to forget. But ironically, not me. Built different. It makes me just want to remember all the ways I've decorated in the past. It's like this evolving set dressing of my life, a reminder of the person I used to be. And sure, it might seem tacky or cluttered or depressing in hindsight, but who cares? Because I am too. Bye.